One of the little quirks of Hollywood is their tendency to release a pair of similarly themed movies around the same time. For every Armageddon, there's a Deep Impact. For every White House Down, there's an Olympus Has Fallen. And for every Multiverse of Madness, there's Everything Everywhere All at Once. Both movies feature a conflict raging across parallel universes, inventive and visually stunning set pieces that defy reality, a main character getting to see different variations of their own life, and a central story about the redemptive power of love and self-sacrifice. The big difference is that one is a trite, muddled, inconsistent, overblown mess that fails to make use of its interesting premise, and the other is Everything Everywhere All at Once. Honestly, it's been a long fucking time since I've seen a movie so creative, inventive, and unashamedly bonkers with its implementation, but still able to pull it all together into a smart, engaging, emotionally satisfying central story. Everything Everywhere All at Once does for alternate reality stories what The Northman did for historical epics, injecting a much needed dose of energy and imagination. It's a testament to what can still be produced when a good script is paired up with a great director and a talented cast of actors, and it left me with a lot to think about once it was over. The movie centres around Evelyn, a middle-aged laundromat owner who emigrated to the US from China as a young woman. The frantic opening sequence makes it pretty clear that she's not exactly living her best life. She's trapped in a failing business with her well-meaning but incompetent husband Waymond and disapproving father. She's overworked and stressed out and growing increasingly distant from her unhappy teenage daughter Joy. And to make matters worse, the business is being audited by the fucking IRS. It all sounds like the basic recipe for your standard family drama. Intergenerational conflict, a failing business, a marriage on the rocks, and a main character who desperately wishes they'd taken a different path in life. But then it all starts to go a bit bonkers when Waymond suddenly transforms into an ass-kicking, kung fu fighting secret agent that's somehow able to pull Evelyn into different realities. As he quickly explains, there's billions of possible universes out there, all created at different times by different choices made throughout history. At some point, an Evelyn from a different universe discovered a way to access and jump into these alternate realities, allowing people to access the skills and memories and even take control of different versions of themselves. What does this remind me of? Unfortunately, a sinister entity known as Jobu Tupaki is making her way across the multiverse, hunting and killing other versions of Evelyn and destroying everything in her path. Her ultimate goal is to unleash a super weapon known as the Everything Bagel, which is kind of like a black hole of reality that can destroy the entire multiverse. As what is apparently the least successful out of all the Evelyns in the entire multiverse, Waymond believes that our version has the greatest potential and therefore the best chance of defeating Jobu Tupaki and stopping the Everything Bagel. As Tupaki's minions close in on her, Evelyn's able to reality jump and access special skills like kung fu, increased lung capacity, the ability to fight blind, or have giant hot dogs for fingers. The more she sees of other realities, the more she realises the opportunities that she's missed in her own life, the things that she could have seen and done if she'd taken different paths, and the more she begins to question the value of her marriage and even herself. But will she pull through in time to stop Jobu Tupaki and shut down the Everything Bagel? Will she reconcile with her husband or realise that they were better off without each other? Will she even want to do any of this stuff when she finds out who her enemy is and how she was created? Now, this all probably sounds like completely absurd nonsense because, well, that's kind of the point. This isn't a movie that's meant to be taken literally or viewed as some kind of serious science fiction thriller. The wacky multiversal conflict, alternate lives, and insane fight sequences are really there to act as metaphors for what amounts to a pretty standard family conflict. All of the characters in this story are blown up into epic, larger-than-life caricatures of their real selves. The overbearing father who uses protectiveness to mask his own narrow-mindedness and selfish need for control. The lost and confused teenager facing a world of infinite possibilities with no real sense of purpose or identity. The angst of a married couple questioning whether they're only still together out of habit and convenience. And at the centre of it all, the ageing woman reflecting unhappily on an unfulfilled life, facing the realisation that her best days are behind her, and sadly daydreaming of what might have been. There's a tendency in Hollywood to skew stories in favour of younger characters, and I think in the hands of more conventional writers, this movie would almost certainly have been some kind of coming-of-age story centred around Joy instead of Evelyn. Just another generic plot about a young woman's quest to find herself and realise her potential in a bland and uncaring world. And well, thank fuck the writers went a different route with this one. Evelyn is a fantastic character that's so much more layered and interesting than any bland, directionless Gen Z could ever hope to be. and she's played to perfection by Michelle Yeoh, who invests her with so much heart, compassion and quirky humour that you can't help but empathise with her. One minute she's laying down kung fu moves like this is 20 years ago and she's starring in an Ang Lee movie, the next she's doing some weird exotic dance with Jamie Lee Curtis while they both have hot dogs for fingers, and the next she's having a raw, heartfelt emotional exchange with a loved one. She takes all of this in her stride, she commands the screen like the leading lady she never quite got to be, and it all just reminds me of what a fucking good actor she is when she has good material to work with. I mean, let's be honest, when most actresses get to a certain age, interest in high profile roles start to dry up pretty rapidly, but this movie proves just how flawed that thinking really is. Ke Huy Quan is a name that most of us haven't heard in a generation. In fact, he basically vanished from the big screen back in the 80s, but fuck me, he's found his calling here. Just like Yeoh, he has to transition rapidly into multiple versions of himself, and he plays them all with real heart and energy, investing Waymond with a quirky likability that's just infectious. His years of stunt choreography mean that he can handle himself pretty well in the fight scenes, and there's nothing quite like watching a pair of middle-aged actors kicking ass like they're still in their 20s. And as for James Hong, what do I even need to say about this guy? The man's an absolute legend, and he's got a natural flair for comedy and playing sinister villains, and he uses both to full effect here. There's a lot going on in this movie in terms of ideas and character dynamics, the conflict between different generations growing up in very different worlds, the tension between parents and their children as one grows old and the other grows up, the doubts and resentments that creep into a marriage when too much is left unsaid, the regrets of missed opportunities and the yearning for the road not taken. And at the centre of it all, the meaning and fulfilment that can still be found in the people we love most, and that the lives we live, for all their faults and mistakes and shortcomings, are something to be treasured and appreciated while they last. Because let's be honest, they don't always last that long. Everything Everywhere All at Once is a fantastic movie that exemplifies the very best of what the medium is capable of. It's crazy and wild and creative and poignant and heartwarming and thought-provoking all at the same time. It thrilled me with action, it made me laugh at the most absurd moments, and it kept me gripped until the final, perfectly constructed ending. And if you're looking for something that isn't just another tired superhero flick or a lumbering action movie, then The Drinker thoroughly recommends Everything Everywhere All at Once. And hey, if nothing else, you'll never look at hot dogs the same way again. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.